Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today we got another new announcement from XDEFIANT and developer Mark Rubin. And they actually now have gone into detail on some launch stuff, some launch details, some actual time frames, and explained when we should expect to actually finally see XDEFIANT launch in full. So as we get into the details, if you guys enjoy the video, do me a favor, drop a like on it. It does seriously help the channel grow. And if you're new here, you want to guarantee you're always up to date with all the new videos that I post, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those post notifications. So initially here, the XDEFIANT Twitter account posted this today, an update on the release of XDEFIANT from Mark Rubin. And we've got a full-on blog post to actually detail their release day update and what actually explains when we should expect to see the game launch. So this is what we've got. Mark Rubin actually posted a full-on blog post, and something that I still have to continuously just commend, I guess is the word to use, commend the XDEFIANT team for is their level of transparency. They are constantly giving updates on gameplay design, gameplay feedback, stuff like this, and I love to see that from a main dev like Ubisoft and like XDEFIANT. It's really cool to see the heads of the studio basically and lead devs talking like this. So hey XDEFIANT fans, I've got an update for you, and it is a big one. We want to further explain why we haven't given a specific date yet for our launch. Sometimes transparency is like drinking from a fire hose, so I hope you're all thirsty. All right, well, first things first. Here's a detailed description of how the submission process goes. So this is the process in which they are currently in. Submission is a part of the development where we give the game to first parties. This means Sony, Xbox, everyone like that, where the game is going to be played, to check that the game works correctly in their environments. To get that, we have to self-test with internal QA and compliance teams to try and find any issues that might get flagged in the submission process. Once we have fixed or completed all the tasks that we want and we think we need for submission, we then spend about 2 weeks prepping and validating a candidate master that we think is the final version of the game for submission. If that goes through 1 week of heavy QA and compliance testing by several Ubisoft teams, if it passes, then it goes to first parties and will be certified for release. First parties take a week to get their final report on the submission and give us a pass or not pass with a list of must fixes for the next submission. Also, to be clear, during the submission process, the QC team at Ubisoft are putting the build through the ringer looking for functionality bugs, and another team at Ubisoft divided up into PC, Sony, and Xbox groups are looking for compliance bugs. These are the two different types of bugs. Functionality means, does this gameplay feature work as intended? Example, there's a bug where the damage from your weapon is altered after using a certain ability. So basically just seeing if the game has, standard bugs that most do, finding those and fixing them as much as possible. This is not something that first parties will be looking for unless, of course, it prevents them from testing. So if it's like a game-breaking bug where your weapon doesn't show up in your hands or something like that. Those are on us to find. Compliance bugs are ones that relate to the system and overall experience that the first parties expect from games on their platform. Are trophies being properly tracked? Is my friends list being properly updated with game status? So things that you'll actually notice on Xbox or on PlayStation, on PC that have to reflect back on that platform as well. After we get a pass from all first parties, then we are ready to ship and need probably 1 to 2 weeks before launching, depending on the date of the pass. If we don't pass, then we have to spend about a month fixing the issues that come up. So I love the fact that they've given us like actual specific details on what exactly is going on. So where exactly are they though in this process? Well, at the end of July, we started this process and we got our first results back in mid-August, which was a not pass. So there was something going on Xbox or something going on PlayStation where the game was not functioning as that publisher wanted. So they said, nope, the game can't pass. We realized then that we had more work related to compliance than we had anticipated. If it had passed, we would have been able to launch at the end of August. So just a couple of days back. Obviously, that did not happen, but it didn't. And so we have spent the last 3 to 4 weeks fixing those issues and getting ready to do another submission. We are currently in the CM prep part of that process and will hopefully be submitting to first parties in a little less than 2 weeks. If that passes cleanly, then we could be looking at a mid to end of September release. So this is our very first actual definitive, hey, if this happens, this is when the game is dropping. If they get a pass on the submission process that they are in right now, XDEFIANT will be launching in mid to end of September. So, maybe a week out from now, maybe 2 weeks out from now, we could potentially be seeing the game drop. However, There is a likely scenario where we get a conditional pass, meaning we have to do a day one patch with some final fixes. If we do have to do a day one patch, that pushes our release date out to early to mid-October. So maybe the first or second week of October if they need that day one update, because they'd have to go through and actually get all those updates ready, play test it, make sure it's smooth, make sure it actually functions, and then they'd be able to drop the game, give a release date, and have that day one update that everyone will have to download. So why no firm release date? If we were following the standard rules for our game releases, we would have set a date enough in advance to buffer everything with these, passes. However, like a lot of things with this game, we have not chosen the typical route. Having millions of people play our game long before it's ready is not normal. Not being afraid to show an unfinished game to millions of people is not normal. These were real tests and not just marketing events, and I love the fact that they keep saying that. So when it comes to the release, the real answer is as soon as we can. And we will continue to update this with more info. To conclude, we set out since the concept of this game to be more transparent with our community and to listen to our players and act on their feedback. We've even shown that we will add features in the middle of development based on player requests. Map voting, which is now in, and an SND-like mode that is coming later, are two examples of this. We want this to be your game. So they are making changes based on what we as a player base are saying. Hey, this should be a thing. That should be a thing. We should adjust this. I know this is a lot of info, so thank you for taking the time to read it all. I know it's been quite a journey to get to this point, and I want to thank every person who's joined us. We can't wait to go live. So the main takeaway here is that there are now two possible release date timeframes for XDefiant. The first of which is sometime later this month, sometime in the next 20 days, basically, if they get the pass. So if the game passes, we will have a release in September in just a couple of weeks' time. If they don't get a pass, it's going to be maybe the first, second, or third week of October, probably week 2 or week 3 of October. Now, it's nice to actually have, an end goal here, an end date here of early to mid-October, right? Here's the thing, though. XDefiant's hype was, seriously based on the fact that it's similar to Call of Duty, but MW2 and Warzone 2 this year were so far from what Call of Duty feels like that XDefiant was sort of a nice little honeymoon experience, if you will. But now we've seen MW3, we know they're making changes, and I've already seen this in my comments and over on my Twitter and in the Discord and whatnot of people saying, yeah, XDefiant might have taken away from MW2, but now that I've seen MW3, I'm not sure if it's gonna, be able to hold its own because it's taken so long to release, which is unfortunate, but obviously not really their fault. That said, if it ends up releasing in mid-October, that's going to be post-MW3 beta. We'll have experienced that, and then it's really going to be a tough competition of, can XDefiant actually, take away from what MW3 is going to be, considering the game seems to be largely based on just community feedback with movement changes, TTK updates, all sorts of stuff like that. It's just tough for XDefiant. They definitely had the hype going when MW2 was at a low point, but odd cycle, MW3's on the rise now. It could be tough to actually sustain, and this could end up hurting XDefiant a lot in the long run just because they couldn't release at an earlier point in time. But that being said, that is the release update info that we now have. Huge shout out to Mark Rubin for actually going through and releasing this information for us, because it is super, super cool to get these details. But if you guys enjoyed the video, do me a favor, drop a like on it. And if you're new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications so you can always stay up to date. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I will catch you guys later. Peace out.